Just a quick reminder before we get into the lesson to download the hands-on lab exercises that accompany this complete CCNA course. I'll include the link in the description. Also remember to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you don't miss any of the lessons in the course. Okay, let's get into it. So this is the official Cisco Troubleshooting Methodology diagram, and this is the recommended way by Cisco to work through troubleshooting a problem. Now, to be honest, as you get more experienced, you'll be able to troubleshoot just naturally without having to think about it using a diagram like this. But this is quite useful if you're new to networking to lay out in a logical fashion about the steps that you can follow to figure out what's causing a problem. So up at the top, the first thing to do is to define a problem. So clearly specify exactly what the problem is. Once you've done that, you then move into gathering information. So find out information about the problem. For example, let's say that we've got a connectivity problem. We would check to see if we can ping from the source to the destination. If not, we would find out, is it just affecting that one host or is it affecting other hosts in the same area? If it's only affecting that one host, the problem is probably with that host. If it's affecting everybody on that IP subnet, then it's probably not a problem at the host level, it's probably something in between the host and the destination. So we would then find out other information like asking, has anything changed recently? If it was working before. So if it was working before and now it's not, find out what's changed, and that's probably going to tell you what the problem is. Next thing to do is to analyze that information. So ask all of the relevant questions, not just asking questions of people, but also using show and debug commands on your devices to get the information. And then analyze that information and look for clues about what's causing the problem. You can then move on to eliminating potential causes. So for example, if we're troubleshooting that connectivity issue from a source to a destination, and there's several routers between the source to the destination, if we check the first hop router and the configuration all looks good there, we can eliminate that as the cause and then check the next hop router along the path. Next thing to do is to propose a hypothesis. So taking all the information into account, you will determine what appears to be the most likely cause of the issue. Then you test the hypothesis where you actually put the commands in or do the thing that would fix that problem. Then if the problem is fixed, you've solved the problem, we're down at the bottom now, last thing to do is to document the solution. Now, this is something that's not fun to do, but it's important to do it. And if you do get into the habit of doing it, you'll thank me later, because sooner rather than later, you will run into a problem that somebody else ran into the exact same problem before. If you've got proper documentation in place in your organization, it should be very easy and quick for you to find the solution because somebody's documented that problem and the solution. If you're not doing any documentation, well, if it took an hour to fix it the first time, it's going to take you an hour to fix it this time as well. Whereas if you had documentation, maybe it's only going to take a few minutes. Also, this is not just for other people that may be facing the same problem as you afterwards. It's for yourself too. Maybe you run into the same problem, but a year down the line, and you can't remember exactly what the issue was, but if you've got the documentation there, you'll be able to quickly look it up and quickly find a solution. Okay, so that's a standard way to troubleshoot from start to the end. But you'll notice there are some other arrows and arrows going in different directions here as well. So sometimes we can move straight from the gather information stage straight to propose hypothesis. If this is a problem that you've seen before and you're pretty confident it's the same thing again, you don't have to spend time gathering additional information. Just put in your solution that you think is going to work and see if it works or not. Also, often we can move back to an earlier stage if we don't manage to fix the problem the way that we thought we were going to. Okay, so that is the Cisco troubleshooting methodology. For troubleshooting methods, again, experience is really going to help you here. Sometimes it makes sense to do a top-down approach, sometimes a bottom-up approach, and sometimes divide and conquer. And what I'm talking about here is it relates to the OSI stack. Some problems, it just makes more logical sense to start off at the application layer and troubleshoot it moving down through the layers. Other times, it's easier to do it the other way around, where you start troubleshooting at the physical layer and then move your way up through the layers. And other times, again, you can divide and conquer. For example, if you see a problem like a connectivity problem, you've seen similar problems with this before, and it's always been caused by an issue at the network layer, you could go straight to the network layer and start troubleshooting there. Based on what you find, you could then move up or down through the OSI stack. And remember, as we said before, having a good understanding of how IP networking works, as we covered in the life of the packet section, and also how the OSI model works, is going to really help you understand what's going on. And when you understand what's going on, that makes it easier to troubleshoot problems. Some methods we can use in our troubleshooting. The first one here, we can compare configurations. If you're in an organization, often you will use templates for configuring your routers and switches. An existing organization, you've already got existing routers and switches there, so rather than doing a new configuration from scratch, you'll do it based on a template. So if you are doing this and there's a problem, you think it's on a particular router, you can compare it with another router that should have a similar configuration and look for any differences there. Maybe you've got a typo or maybe a missing command. By comparing it with a known good configuration, this can help you find the problem more quickly. For connectivity issues, what we're usually going to do is trace the path. And as a network engineer, a lot of your day-to-day job is going to be troubleshooting connectivity problems, so you will do this very, very often. The best way to troubleshoot connectivity problems and tracing the path is start off at the source and work your way towards the destination. In fact, on a slide coming up, we'll cover some of the commands that we're going to use here. The last one mentioned here is swap out components. If you think that you've narrowed the problem down to a particular device, but you can't see a configuration error on there, a way you can confirm it is by swapping it out with some known good hardware. Like the problem might be down at the physical level or something like that, or maybe it's just something you're missing. So for example, a really simple one would be a cable. If you think it's possibly a cable issue because all the configuration appears okay, but there's some kind of physical layer problem, just swap out the cable and see if that fixes it. Okay, so I just mentioned about some of the common commands that we will use to troubleshoot connectivity. Really super common command to use is ping. That checks connectivity between two devices. When you send out a ping, it uses ICMP and it sends a packet from the source to the destination. The destination will then send a ping reply back again. So ping verifies two-way connectivity. If you've got connectivity from the source to the destination, but the return path from the destination back to the source isn't working, then the ping will not work either. So this verifies two-way connectivity between a source and a destination. And this is often one of the first commands that we'll use if we've got what looks to be a network connectivity issue. The next command we'll probably use after a ping, if a ping fails, is a trace route. If you've got multiple routers between the source and the destination, what you can do is you can troubleshoot it from source to destination. So say we've got routers R1, R2, R3, and R4. You could check R1 first. If it all looks good, you move on to R2, then on to R3, and so on. Well, a trace route can sometimes speed this up a bit. A trace route does a ping hop by hop from the source to the destination, and it will often indicate which router along the path has got the problem. And finally, we can use telnet. Telnet is normally used for managing your network infrastructure devices like your routers and switches. We can use that to get onto a command line on the device. But another thing that it can be used for is checking to see if a port is open on a destination. Rather than using Telnet to the default port of 23, we could, for example, Telnet to port 80. That will verify if port 80 is open and receiving communications on the destination. Okay, so next up, let's have a look at this in the lab. And I'll do that using this topology here in the next lecture. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to get the complete course ad-free right now, then you can enroll in my CCNA Gold Bootcamp by clicking the link above my head or in the description. It also includes full study notes, quizzes, and 150 pages of additional troubleshooting labs you can't find anywhere else.